Hey guys, welcome back to another video of Stories of Heart Demon. Today we are going to start a second episode of the series What If Naruto was the Jinchuriki of Uchiha Madara himself. So let's begin chapter 2. Soipon and meeting Naoki again. Namikaze-san, please come back with us or we will be forced to use lethal force to bring you back. One of the tuning in our squad of 4 cried out to Naruto. No, it should be Madara now. It had about 2 years, give or take a few weeks, since Madara had ran away from Konoha no Sato. He had changed a very little aspect for a few features. Madara's eyes, which used to be cerulean blue, was now royal navy blue. And of course, he had grown taller as he was 12 years old, but he looked more like a 13. Madras' physical features weren't the only thing that had changed. His chakra reserves had grown and currently exceed Jonin levels, and the color which used to be blue as his former eyes was now grey and near black. The color change was because of his training and absorbing the original Uchiha Madara chakra as a result of how sinister it was. It also tainted his current chakra. The blonde preteen external elemental affinity for lightning had also grown strong due to his near constant uses and practiced using Chidori to the point that most of his written jutsu had gained a black tint in the other than that, he had also gained a fire affinity, though it was not as strong as his lightning affinity. How many times do I have to tell you? My name is Uchiha Madara, and I refuse. Madara said with a voice full of contempt. Activating his Sharingan, Madara charged at the first Chunin that was nearest to him and coincidentally the one who asked him to come back to the hellhole known as Konoha. The poor unnamed Chunin didn't even have the chance to move before a Chidori pierced his heart. Madara pulled his hand out of the dead Chunin body and jumped back to avoid the three Chunin other who had just begun to move close in on him, all wide, a kunai in his hand. He formed a series of hand signs and sucked in his breath. Kokaki, Keiten no Jutsu. A giant firewall the size of a 10-filled boulder was spewed from the martyr's mouth at the closing tunings. Sweetened, multiple water bullets. A tuning called out a C2 speared out the jutsu, only this time it was 10 water spears, one-fourth the size of martyr's fireball. The two jutsu clashed, and as a result, a stream was made and covered the battlefield, which was a very clearing in the forest. Taking the chance, Madara unsheathed his Chakuto and charged it with lightning chakra, making it vibrate at high speed and leap toward Chunin that used the sweetened jutsu. His opponent couldn't see through the stream, but it could not be said for the same for Madara, as he was using Sharingan and easily saw through that not chakra lit stream. Ah! Screamed the Chunin as he felt the Chakado pierce through his body and through his heart. Suddenly, Madara was kicked from the side and flew toward a tree. When his body hit the tree, a white smoke engulfed it, and log replaced his body, simplifying the Madara used the substitute jutsu. Madara himself was up to a tree branch looking at the remaining tunings. One of them was Mizuki, a teacher at the Shinobi Academy, and the other he didn't know but was quite tall and muscular built, more so than most Chunin, telling Madara that particular Chunin was mainly focused on taijutsu. The two Chunin and Madara stared at each other as if complimenting what to do. Finally, Mizuki moved. He took one of the giant shuriken from his bag and launched it to a Madara with the intent to kill. Mizuki, stop. Did you forget our orders? Hokage-sama wants his son alive. The nameless Chunin shouted at Mizuki. Mizuki, for his part, didn't even blink an eye, and even Madara, for his part, didn't move from his spot on the branch. Instead, closed his eye smilingly. While the other Chunin gasped in horror, not wanting to explain to his leader why his son was dead when he had specifically told them not to kill him at any cost. When Madara suddenly opened his eyes, his body was covered in a thick layer of grey near black lightning, and that was sound of 1,000 chirping bursts coming from him. Madara used his left arm and deflected the shuriken behind it without the use of any weapons or his chokoto, as he had already seated it. There wasn't even a scratch on his skin from the shuriken, making the two Chunin duo gasp in shock. The lightning that covered Madara's body was a technique he created called Chidori Siru. It was a jutsu based off the Sendime and Yandime Reikage lightning armor, only it used Chidori as a basis. Mother created the jutsu to supplement his body strength and speed because he was still young, and being young as he was, his body wasn't developed enough for taijutsu against stronger opponents. And so he would be at a disadvantage at close combat like lightning armor. It greatly increased his power and speed. Not only that, it also hardened his skin and clothes like the original technique, which give a shock to any opponent who touch him without protection from it. Unfortunately, it doesn't increase his reaction speed or nerves. But that defect was corrected through the use of Sharingan, like it depraved Jutsu Chidori. Currently, Madara was unable to call it a quickly as Chidori, and so during the battle, Madara must take time to concentrate to use it with no hand signs or go through a series of hand signs that consist of more than 20 hand signs. Madara ran down the tree and with a high speed that the two Chunin could only see a blonde and a black blur heading toward them. A sickening sound was heard as the two nameless Chunin down, look at his body, and he see that Madara stabbing him with the yellow flashes famous tripong kunai. Before he knew it, his eyes rolled back into his head and he fell onto the ground dead. Please let me tell. Please forgive me. I promise I tell Hokage that you don't want to come back. Mizuki extremely begged as he fell onto his bum and tried to crawl away. Madara slowly began walking toward him with his Chidori Siru displayed with as he walked toward the son of a as Madara neared Mizuki, Mizuki suddenly launched him with a kunai, but he unexpectedly stopped with his kunai inches away from Madara's face. Mizuki's body suddenly fell onto his knees before Madara, with his eyes glazed over. Tell me, Mizuki sensei, what happened after I left Konoha? Mizuki suddenly started telling, after you left, the whole village was in uproar as Hokage-sama sent many teams of Enbu after you. After a week, they gave up, but Hokage-sama gave an S-rank mission to every team that was captured to his son, you, alive. What about my brother and Tsunade? For some reason, seemed overjoyed at your departure, although she tried to hide it. Naoki Hama was very happy and even began to brag about how he was the one who made your life hell by proposing getting you trouble along with Inuzuka Kiba. This in turn infuriated Hokage-sama. He punished Naoki dearly. Currently, Naoki-sama is the first place in the class, falling behind Uchiha Sasuke, Hyuga Hinata, Yamaka Ino, and Haruno Sakura. Madara nodded, taking in the information, not knowing what to think. He killed Mizuki by slitting his throat and began walking away deep in thought. He decided that it didn't matter much as Naoki was still his disgusting half brother. His feeling of disgust and hatred slightly increased as well as his feeling towards Tsunade, but he was conflicted about his father. Namikaze Minato, one hand, he was abused because of Minato not caring enough for him, but that could be contributed to Tsunade's manipulation and his duty as Hokage, which kept him busy. On the other hand, he hated his father for abandoning his mother like that and not seeing his abused state. Madara just gave a sigh. Only time will tell, huh? Murder took out the tri-pronged kunai that he just used to kill the Chunin with and wipe the blood off. He still hasn't taught himself the Horizon no Jutsu, mostly because it would take too much time and must be done in a safe environment, something Murder currently does not have. Madara places away the kunai into his pouch. He then stretched his hand out and plucked a leaf from one of the bushes, staring intently at the leaf. He tried to insert it into fire chakra. At first, it began to blacken and smolder a bit, but suddenly it hardened immensely, brimming with black electricity. Damn! I still can't get hang of it. Every time that it looked like I was about to succeed, I somehow always used my lightning chakra at the last minute. Madra thought with frustration. It was justified since he had begun his lightning elemental chakra training for way too earlier than his fire affinity. But it seemed that his fire lightning affinity was way too strong and would interfere with his fire chakra affinity training. Either that or he was doing it wrong somehow. Madra groaned out in frustration as he threw away his most recent hard as kunai material leap. He decided to he was going to continue training to use Rasengan, stalking out his left hand with the palm open. He began to gather chakra. Okay, first gather chakra and spin it like multiple spirals. In his hand, transparent black chakra began to gather into his hand and spinning in multiple spirals. Now add the power to it. The chakra in his hand began to get darker and condensed, but suddenly it boom exploded. Madra was blown back and nearly crashed into a tree, but luckily he flipped in the midair and landed onto the ground with his feet before jumping onto the ground. Okay, maybe this isn't the best time and place to train. Madra said to himself as he thought about how dangerous it currently was to train at the moment while walking and concentrating on something, knowing enemy could jump out at any moment. Plus, he should count himself lucky that he hadn't exhausted himself yet after killing those four tunings. With a sigh, Madra continued to his travel to wherever it takes him. Slur. Madra sighed in belief as he ate the food of the gods. You guessed he was eating that the thing in the bowl. What what this should be called? Ramen. Obviously, yeah. This nowadays also love ramen way too much. Piles upon piles of bowls, late nest. Madra as he stared people at him, wondering where in the hell does he fit all that? It has about a few weeks since Madra defeated all the fortunes. He had arrived at Tenjiku town just today. Madra hadn't eaten anything yet, so he was hungry. Suddenly, he was attracted to a heavenly smell. It led him to the town's most famous ramen stall. To Madra's immense fury, he found a couple of thugs trying to explode from the owner, so, in a good act of God, he punished them for tainting the sacred place. The stall owner was so grateful that he allowed Madra to eat as much as he liked for free. Oh, that was the wrong thing to say, because judging by his face, he had at the moment was regretting saying that to Madra. With a satisfied warmth, left the stall, leaving some review that he knew would be paid for the everything he ate. Despite being told he was able to eat for free, he declined in the end. Murder still had a sense of honor, well, that and the food was really good. It would be a shame to close down because he ate too much without paying. Murder walking through the road of Tenjiku enjoyed the peace and joy that radiated in the air of the town. It was nice. Murder thought being able to walk with other humans once in a while, but there was one thing that bothered him. There is someone following him. You can come out now, Murder said, just while walking toward the exit of the town. Suddenly, a black blur appeared in front of him a couple meters away. Murder activated his siren gun. The black blur was actually a pretty female. She had short black hair that framed her face and two baggy blonde hair. And after that, what do you want? Murder asked, looking at his stalker. Must be a Wakajasi. After observing her, he said, My name is Soifan, a Kuinuki from the village of Nadashiko. I request your help. Mother was surprised as she kept his face stoic. And why would I help you, Sofian-sen? Mother asked, intrigued as to why a kunoichi from Nadakiso village would request his help. He had heard that the village was based on a matriarchal system where men had a little to no standing. Because Madra-sen Mother raised an eyebrow slightly at this, wondering why she knew his name. If you do, we of the Nadasiku village will endeavor it to you and will answer to your call whenever you are in need of help. Oh, that's quite an offer. But I have to wonder what it is that I must help you in order to gain that much sway with your people. Madison, our heirs, and Princess Shizuka has been kidnapped by Gato of Gato Enterprises and he wants us to submit to him. Naturally, we cannot do this, but we cannot allow him to harm Shizuka either. Reinforcements arriving from the village will be too late. So please, Madison, help us. Sopion said as she bowed her head further down, touching the ground by now. And why me? You may not know, but your frame exceed you. Your name is Uchiha Madara, or you call yourself. Your mastery over Sharingan at a young age had called you the Crimson Eyed God, a prodigal genius that has mastered several high-ranking jutsu, including most of which are Raiten Jutsu, rumored to be included in your Jutsu arsenal is Chidori, the famed assassination technique created by Sharingan no Kakashi and having a Jutsu much like Yandame Reiki's lightning armor, and you are labeled as an A rank missing nin with a bounty of 5 billion Rio to be perfect captured alive by the requested up mining nations. Murderer took in the information not knowing that he was that much famous or infamous, depending on the point of view. He scoffed when Sopian said missing nin. He clearly wasn't a shinobi of any hidden village, yet they labeled him a missing nin. The idea was simply amusing to him. If I help her, I would have the support of a whole village, but on the other hand, I might not succeed in rescuing the princess, which might result in village hunting me down. Plus, this Gato of Gato Enterprise, one of the richest men in the world, if I upgrade him too much, he might want my head. But attacking one of the richest men in the world, that might would be an adequate challenge. Very well. Sapien raised her. Thank you, Madara, she said, and she stood up. Please follow me. The Nadeshiki Kunoichi said as she started to walk. Sephion, are you the only one? We had other companions, Tokiwaka, Shizuka-sama's attendant, but they were both captured in the seat, so I could only escape. Wait. Sapien turned towards him. Yes, Madara-san, I have a quicker way. Suddenly he started to take some blood out and with a rapid succession of a series of hand signs slammed into the ground and said summoning jutsu. A giant crow at least 7 meters long from head to tail appeared. Madara jumped onto the crow's back. He had taken the crow summoning scroll during one of his days in the 3.5 years of preparation. The summoning contract was in the secret room at the Uchiha clan's Naka shrine, and with various other equipments that he had taken from there, such as his clothes and Chikudo, that being the reason there was an Uchiha clan symbol engraved on it. Come on, Mother says as she looked at Sephions, who was staring at him with her mind going at a million miles per second. Yes, she said as the two jumped behind Madra. Go. The trip Nami no Kuni, which was headquartered of Gato Enterprise and where Shizuka and Tokigawa were imprisoned, took about 4 to 5 hours. Thanks to Madra's summon, had used as they were flying during their trip. Neither of them talked much as they both were shinobi of a few words. By the time they arrived, it was already night time. After they had landed and dispelled the summoning, Madara followed Siphon, who led him to the family that had graciously allowed her to stay when she was recovering after escaping Gato. They walked to a house on the wooden platform above a lake. Suddenly, Scipion heard a woman's sound coming after she knocked at the wooden door. About she was in 30s, Madara thought, after seeing her, because she was a really slim woman, but her height was average. She had black hair. Her eyes were somewhat loose, and after seeing her, her eyes lit up in recognition. Safian Chan, you are back, and who's this with you? I am her friend, Madra said without any more delay. Safian nodded, content with Madra's answer. Hello, my name is Tsunami, and what is your? My name is Madra. Uchiha Madra. Madra replied. She smiled as she said, please come in. You are welcome. She moved away from the door to allow the duo. Sapien walked in first. When Madras walked in, he froze at what he saw. There, sitting near the table, was a team of Konoha shinobi. The Konoha shinobi were namely Hatake Kakashi, Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, and finally Namikaze Senju Namaki. Why are you here? Madara growled out dangerously, placing his hand on the handle of his kutocho, ready to unseat it in a moment to no stage and letting loose a small amount of killing intent. The three genin must to Madara's surprise were that affected by his killing intent, although their hand reached for the kunai pouch, wary of Madara. Kakashi was about to out of his chair in front of the table with a kunai in his hand, ready to defend his students. Sephion looked at back and forth before finally deciding to stand next to Madara with her hand on her wakajashi, much like Madara. There was also an old man on the table with a small child. They were visibly affected by Madara's killing intent as they were seeking. Tsunami, who was not targeted or anywhere near the target of Madara's killing intent, was not much affected. Tsunami, in an attempt to diffuse the clearly visible tension, started to speak. Madara, you see, they are the team of Konoha Shinobi that my father hired in order to protect him and the bridge from Gato. This is Sapien and Madara. Their companions was captured by Gato, so they or Sapien was living here for a day or two before she went to find someone to help her. She brought back Madara over here. Madara and Seven continued their stare off with the team of Konoha, neither giving any implication that they heard Tsunami explanation. Finally, Madara made a titch sound before walking out of the door he came in from. Sepion, I will be nearby the house if you are looking for me. She moved toward Tsunami and said, I apologize. It seems my companion has some bad experience with Konoha in his past. After Mantra had left, each team of Konoha Shinobi, otherwise known as the Team 7, each had different thoughts about the newcomer. Kakashi was thinking how the blonde called Madara that had just left, he looked like Sensei so much like Naruto. Is it possible that it was him? But if it was him, why would he appear here of all places? And I heard that he traveled alone. Plus, his eyes were blue before he has royal navy blue eyes. But if it was him, I have so much questions I want to ask. So why would he leave? And many more. I wonder if Naoki noticed how much he looked like Naruto. Sasuke too had different thoughts, but they were on different topics. Who is he? Is he strong? Sasuke thought as he remembered how the blonde was. Tsunami said Madara let out some killing intent on them and how Kakashi was wary of him by taking a pose with kunai out, just like taking a battle stand. Plus, there was also a fact that there was a Uchiha clan symbol on his sword. But does this mean he's an Uchiha? But I thought Nissan killed all of them. I have never heard of a blonde Uchiha before. Naoki thought contains something similar, only the majority of them went on the blonde. Who was that blondie? Whoever he is wouldn't stand a chance against me. But who's the girl? She is cute. I should invite her over to come with back to Konoha. She wouldn't refuse after all. I'm Namikaze Senju Naoki. No girl should be able to say no to me. Sakura thoughts were the simplest all of them. Who was he? And his kind of aura remind me of Sasuke. That night, Kakashi, Naoki, and Sasuke slept in one room. Sakura slept in the room by herself, and Sapien slept in the same room as Tsunami, due to her being uncomfortable near political enemy of Konohanins. Madara, however, was a different story. He was currently standing in the forest near the sound, surrounded by the tree with his eyes closed. Suddenly they opened a translucent black lightning surrounding his body with the sound of 1,000 chirping birds. Madara had activated his Chidori Zero. In an instant, Madara do his Chukyudo that was also covered in a thin layer of lightning and cut down the tree surrounding him. That cut was so clean that a reflection could be seen reflecting off the stump where the tree was. Madara didn't stop there. He continued to run around in the forest with a furious face, cutting down many trees along his way.